I agree with you that you see, unless we are asking the political parties that henceforth, which I think we should get to at a point in time in our life, that every proposal you make, there should be the bigger volume which explains exactly all the way to how much it's going to cost or the impact on the country. But when my brother says that their own defense is that the GMA says it is dangerous, that this thing, the fact that prostitution exists, to legalize it. My brother, in the same Holland is talking about, you can go to a facility and smoke weed. In this country, it's illegal. But in Parliament, we just went to pass a law that you can grow weed in commercial quantities in this country. Yeah, and we are okay with that. That we can control that one. And I'm saying that Okada is not a campaign.
That's with a certain level of. There's a chemical categorization of what can be legalized. So I don't think it may be necessarily right to say that.
You and I, as sitting here, do we know what people are growing in their villages as under this law? Do we know?
That's the challenge of enforcement.
Exactly. And guess what? They made very cogent arguments how we was going to be the savior of this country. Cocoa didn't save us. Minerals didn't save us. Oil didn't save us. In Parliament, NPP made very serious argument that we was the game changer. Let's legalize it. The commercial production of we and all our problems will be gone. We've legalized it. Let's see whether it will deal with it. But let's come back to the main point. I am saying that NDC is listening. In fact, this came from our consultation across the country. We didn't just talk about Okada. Okay. I met Okada riders in his constituency, in a church, a chapel. They were more than the party people we met that day. The Okada people were more than the party people. So this is their wish that this is reviewed. Let's review this, addressing the issue of safety. And we may be on a path of making it a better option for many. In your speech, you talked about somebody said he built a house out of it. I think I spoke to you somewhere a week ago on this same issue, and I said that I know an Okada driver rider that tells me he earns more than 250 cedis a day. If I compare that to the 700 cedis we pay, what do you call it, NAPCO, it appears the Okada rider is making more money than NAPCO. Somebody twisted it and said that I said all the university people should go and ride Okada. And then they also say that nobody have a dream of having been Okada. I don't think anybody went to university to come and join NAPCO either. None of the solutions may appear sound in somebody's ear. But this is not a job. NAPCO people were forced to go and do it. Okada, currently, there are people who, when the vice president made a statement that he will give them vehicles, which we all know is a joke. Because guess what? VW is not assembling any car here. Under that law, VW could even bring a fully assembled vehicle. You manufacture a vehicle. When you see a vehicle manufacturing plant, it could occupy half of Adabraka, where you just have, even the frame is coming from somewhere, goes onto an automatic line, people fixing screws and other thing. When you have a car that is fully built, and then you take the engine out and the tires out, come and put it in a small garage somewhere and say you are assembling vehicle, that is deceptive. We know. We've all seen what a car manufacturing assembly plants are. They are not a small garage. It could be acres of land because engines, maybe engine block comes, something, the head is put on it, something, the piston, and other things. That is what we are talking about.
But the automotive policy talks about an assembling plant and not necessarily.
That is why you saw on the floor.
Which is what is happening.
That is why I said that the law, the most important part of that law is that a business, and don't forget, car manufacturers are business people.
That's true.
They have seen an opportunity to avoid 35% tax, which where if you were to import the same vehicles into this country, you pay 35%. But VW and Co. joined a certain group called Ghana Automotive Development Authority, which does not even exist in a document that was presented to Parliament when we asked for it. Automatically, they get 35% off, and the law says that once you are part of that, you are even allowed to import vehicle fully assembled. So I ask, when the vice president said we are assembling polos and other things, how many polos have you seen on the street so far since they assembled it? And who says that everybody wants a polo? And somebody's just haulaging. In fact, are they assembling buses in this country? Are they assembling the cars that how do you call it, taxi drivers will use? No. past. Maslock imported hundreds of vehicles and gave it to taxi drivers on how do you call it, on high pitches, buses and everything under the NDC. This government hasn't provided one taxi. The only vehicle they actually distributed were the 2015 buses we procured under Maslock that were not distributed. In front of everybody, they took off the number plate, which was 16, and made it 19 and gave it out. So you don't even have a track record of providing one taxi. You are Okada riders told us there are over 800,000 in the country.
That's a questionable figure.
Well, I have the documents here. That's the figure, the thing they presented to Parliament.
Million
yes.
Okada riders
yes.
in the country.
So there could be more Okada riders than the public sector workers in this country. So when Franklin says that this is more than just about votes for any political party, let's take it serious. Imagine these people even paid, get jobs. They are not now telling any government, give me job. They've got their job. The concern is safety. How do we make it safe? And these people begin to contribute the little they can to our economy. We could address the minus 3.5% growth we are recording last month. We could address it. So it is a possible win-win situation for everybody. And anybody who says that Okada is so demeaning, to somebody, the guy who works at Zoom Lion, should have been working in the bank. But the person forgets that if the street is not cleaned, even in this building, there's somebody's job to stand at the gate and usher me into the building. It's somebody's job to make sure that nothing untoward happens here. There's a boss on the last floor who controls everything. They are all part of the reason it's called Citi. So you don't see Okada as a demeaning job. When somebody tells I built a house out of Okada, and NAPCO, how many NAPCO people have built a house out of the 700 cities? All of them are necessary. Our solution to even NAPCO is not for them to get out 2 years. It's to give them opportunity to do the jobs that they train to do. When you go to UK and US and study civil engineering or electrical engineering, your job is not to be under NAPCO standing at a district assembly where you have no way of implementing any of those things. We can make Okada work for everybody. We can address the safety issues. I take on board the concerns of Franklin and co that we need to put forward more details as to how this would work for everybody. I think it's a genuine question to NDC, and we take it on board. And as time goes, we'll be able to address those ones.
Okay, let me come to Richard on this issue.
Yes.
And the fact that the proposal to lease vehicles to Okada riders may not necessarily be the solution to the problem of getting them employment, and then secondly may also compound the traffic congestion issue across the country or in the cities, to be specific.
You know, when they banned Okada, or leading to banning Okada, the vice president then, former President Mahama, commissioned a project to construct bus rapid
BRT.
BRT.
Yes.
What happened to that?
The buses are there.
No, I mean the lanes that they wanted to construct. I think that is a project that would have created dedicated pathways and then ease traffic in the long term.
One lane was one of the lanes were.
Yeah, but I'm saying that it is not widespread enough that that solves it.
Right.
Okay. But for me, my challenge in all this discussion, and my brother, I think he doesn't want me to talk about former president because his character and person and leadership is what is at the center of all this. And the NDC as well, but him most especially. Because look, they promised that they were going to do one-time premium, right? Was the lead promise. Propagated much like this, so animated, they were running around with that. They couldn't do it. See? Because the thing is not practical. Just like we're telling them now that this Okada legalization you're doing is not practical.
It's not practical to legalize an issue that,
because
as it stands now, is illegal, but people are still going about it, doing it. How impractical is it to regularize it?
It's very impractical. So I just told you, Lagos State put their law in the same year. Now look, it says what, after a robust assessment of the debate on what has been widely referred to as the motorcycle, Okada, tricycle, whatever, menace in Lagos, government and the State Security Council have decided that the security and safety of lives of Lagosians, I think Lagos people, are paramount. You are following? The figures are scary. From 2016 to 2019, there were over 10,000 accidents recorded in the general hospitals alone. Okay? This is a country, you see, you have an example.
150 million people, though.
Oh, no, but it has nothing to do with the numbers. It has everything to do with the accident that is happening.
More people, more accidents.
Yes, no problem. But you understand, you have an example. You have a living example of how this thing will create problem for you down the lane. And you are rushing head in to legalize this. So you are saying that the people who are suffering the same thing you want to do, they are not human. They are not thinking.
Franklin gave us Denmark.
Forget, Franklin is stating his objective.
No, in Denmark, there's okada or
no, it's a bicycle. No,
motor taxi.
It's not motor taxi.
That's what
It's
he
bicycle. There are bicycles you can go and pay, put money in a machine,
yes.
take one bicycle and ride yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so please. And even then, when you take that, there are safety gadgets you wear. Okay. Now.
Like.
Huh?
Helmet, the
Yes.
only helmet.
Yes.
He said in London, everything.
Yeah, yeah, you were. So
Different from
but hold on. So please, it's not the same thing Franklin was talking about. Now look, what are the practical issues associated with that? But before we do that, let me tell you the question that one of the speakers raised a question about. Now, I think the PPP, is it a chairman?
There's a chairman of the
Yeah,
PPP.
raised concern about how come we're promising
And that
cars.
both political parties over the years have done virtually nothing about the
you see?
problem that started years ago.
Yes. So you see, a child who, when it grows, will do well. You can see from their childhood and the way they talk and the way they react to situations. The NPP is able to promise that today because we have created a system that allows for that to be done.
How
Right?
so?
Because we have a vehicle assembly company here in this country. They assemble vehicles and it's to be sold in Ghana or probably exported to other sub-Saharan countries. To provide demand for that company and to sustain the jobs and create more in that assembly plant. The vehicle are sold in Ghana. We provide an avenue for people to buy that vehicle. We can now have this okada, trotro and taxi people turn in their old vehicles, get a new one. Okay? Reasonable, you can see through that logic. We have created a national identification infrastructure that allows for you to be able to identify the people now when you give them the cars. You can trace them. So it makes sense that now is the time you can do that. And we propose that in our manifesto. It's in our manifesto. It's not like it's just falling from the skies. It's in the manifesto. If you go to page 180. Okay? So it is an integrated approach to solve a problem. So all this problem of okada and seeing the examples and the pain other people are going through, we have a comprehensive approach to deal with it. Now, you hear the NDC will regulate. How are they going to regulate this thing? Would you suddenly make the motorbike more safer than a vehicle? I don't know how they're going to do that. And when they say they are going to do that, I tell them, look at Lagos. They could do what you think you are doing or you want to do because it was there before it came here, right? They have more experience with it than we have. Practical issues. Insurance is going to be a problem. 90% risk. Insurance companies have not spoken in this country to tell us what. Okay, I haven't heard them yet. Okay, maybe you should speak to them. Okay, how is it going to be regulated, and the attendant implication for premium going up across board for everyone, because it's a shared risk. Number two, how are you going to ensure that after you have legalized okada, how are you going to ensure passengers who sit on okada wear the same helmet, or everybody have their private helmet when they go to look for okada? Because wearing the same helmet, given the environment we're in now, we're wearing masks and the rest of them now, are you going to allow for people, is it safety for the public health safety? Does it become an issue that everybody shares the same helmet?
It's all in the manifesto.
Okay. Are they going, so maybe it's a case that everybody must buy their own helmet?
No.
Okay. So everybody shares the same?
No, the rider provides.
And so rather provide the same helmet for everyone. That's why people don't wear it now, which is the reason the accidents are so catastrophic.
No.
Okay? Number two, everywhere there's a motorbike they're comparing, the law mandates that you wear a helmet. That's why when they passed the law, there was an exception for courier services because the rider then can be properly geared to wear a helmet and do it because it provides that for himself and it's for him alone. Right? And so how are you going to deal with that?
But
Everybody brings their helmet.
The question of congestion still remains that the policy from the MPP may not address.
I'm telling you,
lease
but you
vehicles.
see, because hunger exists, because the need to make income exists, does not drive us necessarily to say, let's legalize Sakawa. Okay. Let's legalize this, let's legalize that, right? So that fundamental question is not one that they are proposing is going to address. Because then if you want to address that, then you create different, bigger problem for society by legalizing everything, because everybody can make legitimate argument or claims for why their particular interest should be legalized. No. So you go back to a state of nature, chaos, right? So that does not arise. How do you ensure, okay, that the passengers who sit to avoid to provide the safety they are talking about, how do you create a situation where passengers who are going to work, you come to Citi, you are dressed for your morning show, you have to wear a motorbike gear, you have to buy your own. Because if we are trying to make it safe, then we must make sure you ride safe by wearing the appropriate apparel to sit on a motorbike.
But currently, you can sit on the same motorbike without, under the current law, you can still sit at the back of the motorbike, just that you don't have to pay or take money from somebody.
No, I see. Well, you are talking about legalizing and providing safety.
Yes.
Are you saying the safety you are providing will exclude wearing helmet?
It would enhance it, rather.
So if you would enhance it, then it means that you are going to require that people who sit on Okada are dressed appropriately to enhance their safety. And that's, but how do you ensure safety if you are not enforcing the safety measures that gives you the safety? Safety is not just speaking it, safety is doing something to guarantee the safety. So if you want to say people should be safe, then you want to insist that they wear helmet. And the question I ask is that you cannot get everyone who rides Okada to buy their own private helmet. The reason people don't wear it because they don't want to share the helmet, so there are oftentimes helmets on the bikes, but people don't want to wear it.
There are ways to get around.
Number two,
it's probably the issue of enforcement, even with
that's what I'm saying.
You could put it in a disposable. You can put in a disposable.
It's not being enforced. People do that every
you can put in a disposable liner before you wear it. When you take it,
is it, Duke? I am making a reasonable common sense argument. It is not for my brother to justify or not. I'm saying.
But we want to implement.
Yes,
I think you should.
But I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that.
Point, yes.
Well, you justify because that's what suits you. I'm just saying for a common sense person to look at this, how feasible is this? Is what I'm just saying.
Okay.
You cannot do that. So in essence, what the NDC is proposing, it is not to do anything to help the situation, but it is to do everything for Muhammad's parochial interest.
Why do you say that?
All right, we'll take a break here. Yes, we'll take a break. We'll take a break here. I'm getting the signals clearly from the team. Yes. We'll take a break here. When I come back, I will we'll read some of the comments and then get a final round of views from our panelists on this issue and move on to the other matters that are up for discussion. This is the big issue on Citi TV and on Citi FM. Stay with us.
The world is impossible without time. Time is endless motion. Make time work for you. Bet Planet. Time to bet.
They'll go with the 4-4-2 diamond formation for that early lead. An early goal will settle the nerves.
The away team has been in bad form. They will feel the pressure.
The home side's kept 2 clean sheets in a row.
It's all about momentum.
Who will have the stamina to last the 90 minutes?
The star striker is suspended.
They've got no kappa.
The marking will be tight.
This will be won or lost in the midfield.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. Betway, for the love of the game.
Welcome back to The Big Issue right here on Citi TV. My name is Mensah Opoku. I'm sitting in for your regular host, Godfred Akoto Boafo. We're still having a discussion regarding the legalization or regularization of okada, whether it's something to be considered at all, or there is merit to the argument for an already thriving venture for most people in the country, for some people in the country, should be looked at again, of course, on the basis of manifesto promises from the NDC initially, and now what the Vice President is saying with regards to a transition from the current, from the status quo to a place where okada riders can own their own vehicles for the same purpose or for engaging in commercial ventures. That's the discussion that's going on so far. Before we went on the break, Richard was wrapping up on the point. So Richard wraps up
quickly,
on the point quickly.
Yeah, so the point,
the PPP and Professor Otin Abibio as well as Franklin on this issue, then we'll move on to the other matters.
Yeah. So the point I was making is this, that if the goal is to legalize because they want to legalize, the NDC has not shown us a change of position when they banned this thing before. And I'm telling you that the real practical constraints of legalizing okada are existential matters that must be addressed. Unless those things are addressed satisfactorily, you cannot legalize okada because you create an entrenched problem. Because once you legalize it, you can't take it back. Okay? Then the problems that are attendant to it fester. And given already that we banned it and legalized it, you can't want to go back and ban that. That actually undermines the lawmaking process. It makes our laws very flippant. So you need to be very careful and make this decision. Oh, please, that is a very...
Why?
It's a very flimsy...
Luxury vehicle tax.
Because listen, let me explain that to you. Government fiscal policy is subject to change. The particular climate you are in and what economical situation you are dealing with in terms of enhancing or cooling down your economy, you use fiscal policy. So you can pass a fiscal policy measure to increase tax, but when the economy gets to a point where you need to slow it down, you can take it away, or you need to speed it up, you can take it away.
The memo was not about money.
No, please,
it was about environment.
Please. So that is a totally different thing. But the point
to every issue, there are various dimensions
of course,
that matter.
But of course,
within a year, you bring a law and remove it within a year.
Because
you are not flippant.
Because it's a policy measure, it's a fiscal policy measure that is subject to change across board everywhere. Okay, taxes are taken and put and removed. We've removed 11 taxes. Why not complain about that? But the point I am making here is this, that the NDC does not have a plan for this country. We don't have to legalize okada in Ghana. We understand that the law exists and people are still doing it.
And the need exists for transportation in certain areas.
Absolutely, the need exists. But you don't have to legalize it. What you have to do, if you are a responsible government, is find ways where you can increase and create opportunity for people to actually find their way in the system, to filter away from that. Because legalizing that costs life.
Okay.
And we don't want to do that.
All right, okay. So let me bring in here PPP, Nano Foriosu.
Okay.
Yes, Nano Foriosu to give us his concluding comments on that. Then we come to...
You give me the time you are giving.
Yes, when we wanted to start the conversation with you, it was difficult. Yes, it was.
If you want more time, you come to the studio.
So Nana, you have the opportunity now.
If you call me to the studio, I'll be there. I've been watching you.
Nana, for you left your seat, though. They called you, you are not in your seat.
As a but Nana, for yes, you have the opportunity to make the points now.
We cannot allow ourselves to be bamboozled by these type of arguments that my brothers are making. my brother there is talking about you must put in certain measures before you leap and all of that. Wasn't that the argument the NDC was giving him about free SHX? that they wanted to do infrastructure, blah, 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 before
So
moving
now
into
he
the
supports.
and then they jumped into free SHS. And because they saw that it was a need and it was compelling. You see, when you want excuse, you start to employ certain statements and certain ways in which you taking excuse from acting and implementing. We are where we are because of failed leadership. And let me repeat this. We are where we are because of failed leadership. And when you talk about short-term and long-term and medium-term, my brother, we have from 1992 to 2020, don't you think it's a sufficient time that we could have put in a railway system and transport system for the intercity movement? Don't you think that the rapid bus transport system, the lanes that was discontinued by different political parties in control is something that we need to talk about? Don't you think we need to talk about this continuity of projects used by citizens' money, growing weed in the bush? Don't you think it's enough time to have corrected it? Don't you think from 1992 to today, it's enough time that would have created better employment for our citizens in this country? Why is it that when we speak about the issue of Okada, it seems like people of Northern descent are the ones who are leading this argument?
Yes. Descent.
Yeah. Leonardo also. Well,
is it on a guy? Is it something? Hello?
Yes.
Are you cutting me off again?
No, I'm not cutting you off. Just to just to make it the
Where
point that
Where is it?
No, is it?
all these are challenges that are festered over the period. But what is the PPP's?
Oh, but
what is the PPP solution? Yes, your argument to the matter.
You are trying to situate me in the argument of people of what my brothers are doing there, and I am saying that situating me in that context is what has gotten us where we are now.
Okay.
Allow me for us.
But it's within a greater conversation around transportation. So the question to you is, what is the PPP's viewpoint on the matter that we are having, or the discussion we are having within the greater conversation of transportation, and within the greater, what do you call it, conversation around the manifesto?
I'm answering your question.
Yes.
I am answering your question. Okay. And the question that I'm asking you is that you cannot say that this is a today phenomenon that you want to tackle the byproduct of our ill system. The Okada menace that we are talking about is a byproduct of our ill system. And that ill system is that there are lack of jobs. You see, you can't talk about Okada without talking about jobs and the opportunity thereof for citizens, because it has come as a result of people trying to find ways and means to feed themselves. So you can't just talk about the transport. You must talk about the unemployment. And you see, here is a country that we recently said that we are giving free water and free electricity to our citizens because we recognize the harsh economic conditions that is being perpetrated upon our people. It is the government who said it. It is the government that is giving free food to students in school because they say the economy is harsh. No. So they are helping them. No, it is the same government that says that there are businesses collapsing. So they are giving 600 million to.
And also, okay, I think we're struggling to hear. And also, while the technical team fixes the challenge, let's talk to Franklin for his concluding. Yes, Franklin. Hello, Mr. Kujo. Okay, so Franklin Kujo is also, yeah. Wow, so the challenge has to be fixed. Professor Martin Abebio. Okay, so we'll come in studio now and bring in some of the comments before we move to the other issues up for discussion. So this is from Bright Dansoman. Says, I think the Vice President should be quiet on the legalization of okada. This serves as an employment opportunity to some Ghanaians for their daily bread. What is needed is education and regularization. Yes, for the okada debate. That's Bright from Dansoman. Paul from Ashaliboche says, if indeed ideas from the opposition are being implemented for the good of the citizenry, then Ghana has a bright future for its children. We need more of such impartial proposition from all parties, but must be acknowledged by implementers. That's Paul from Ashaliboche. Is okada demeaning? No, I haven't heard that. Arguments are all about safety. Your guest should come again. So safety as against livelihoods. Well, that seems to be the issue that is really dominating the discussion. I really wish we had Prof. still back on to wrap up the conversation for us. But as it is now, I think we should move to the other issues. A couple of messages from Kofi Abochi says, especially for courier services, my fear is that in the end, some of these things are for political clout, and the story of effectiveness of its regularization will only be told shortly. Let's move on to the issue of the filing fees for political parties. The filing fees for political parties. But of course, if you have some comments you want to chip in before we go on to that, you're still at liberty to do that. The matter of the filing fees for the political parties is moved from 200 cedis for parliamentary, 500 cedis for presidential in 92, to now where we have 10,000 for parliamentary, 50,000 for presidential. That's 100,000, if I may put it. It was 50,000 in the last election. So it's 100,000 currently as we speak. And the Electoral Commission announced that at a press briefing this week. If we have that insert ready, if we can play that to quickly set into perspective what the issue is and what we'll be discussing here.
As part of our efforts to curb the spread of the COVID-19 virus, the Commission will make the nomination forms for the 2020 general election available to registered political parties online. The forms may be accessed on the Commission's website, ec.gov.ghana/political parties. Forms will be available to all political parties from 6 p.m. today. In our bid to ensure the security and integrity of the nomination process, each political party will be provided with a unique password to enable them access the password-protected nomination forms via their political party-named folders. The password will be provided to the general secretaries of the political parties. It is important to note that independent candidates will also be issued with unique passwords. We entreat the general secretaries of political parties and the representatives of independent candidates to kindly call and contact the head of IT for access and to receive access to their passwords. Guidelines for filling the nomination form.
It's not just because we can increase. That's not the main reason why. But let's be very frank. Every 4 years, we adjust prices as far as the nomination fees are adjusted every 4 years. So 2012, presidential was almost 10,000. 2016, it came to 50,000. Then 2020 is now 100,000. And those of you who know the value of money in each particular year, it's important you look at the value of 50,000 in 2016, then compared to 50,000 in 2020. Then you will notice that the Commission hasn't increased it that much. And even when you look at the parliamentary, the 10,000, what it actually means is that the Commission has reduced it. Because we all know that 10,000 in 2016 is not the same as 10,000 in 2020. So I think this is something the Commission is doing that to promote multi-party democracy, so that in our constituencies, if there are people there who want to contest as independent candidates in the parliamentary elections, they can do so.
So that's Dr. Eric Asari Bosman, Deputy Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, providing justification as to why the Commission believes there should be an increase in the amount for filing to contest in this year's election. Before that, we had Madam Jean Mensah, Chairperson of the Commission. Let me come to PPP, because PPP took this matter to court in the last election, 2016, over 50,000 as filing fees for the presidential election, and what was being charged also at the parliamentary level. So Nana Osu, of course, this is an issue. People have even spoken about the commoditization of democracy and all of that. What are your comments on this matter of filing fee and where it's been pegged by the Electoral Commission? Nana Osu.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our constitution talks about a multi-party democracy, and that we all have a right, inherent right, to compete and to share ideas and to go to the public to be able to solicit their support based on what we say we can do for Ghana. It seems that over the years, and I have said this over and over again, it appears that every time a party gets into government, they somehow become the spokesperson for the Electoral Commission. The MPP, at the time when the fees were sent to 50,000, came and said that the fee was high. That it was high under Commissioner Osei. Now under MPP, the fee for presidential has been doubled. And members of the MPP are making statements basically to that if you can't pay, you can't stand the heat, get out.
Who said that?
This is what they're saying now. The same thing reversed for NDC.
Who said that?
The same thing reversed for the NDC. So it appears to us that whenever a party gets into power, they want to find ways and means to keep out other parties from the fray. Because you hear discussion that we don't want second round. We want to do this first round, which also appears that the selection process wants to be, somehow is to be filtered. And we are using money as the filtration for people coming to contest. You always talk about the United States of America. Do you have more money than the Democratic Party of the United States of America or the Republican Party? How much is it for a presidential fee to contest? About $500 USD. Then we sit here and we peg it around $20,000 for somebody to contest. What is the average income of Ghanaians in Ghana?
I think there's also an inbuilt mechanism that if you are able to attain a certain number of votes, percentage of votes in the election, the money will be returned to you. The fees are just filing fees. So if you make that argument,
you see, that is another strategy, yes, to further impoverish those who are already impoverished. Because if I contest, I pay the money, and I don't get the percentage, I don't control the percentage. It's the good people of Ghana that control the percentage. So if I don't get the percentage, and you don't give me back my money, have I not lost money? And you see, the Electoral Commission too is not a money-earning institution. And that is why we wholly fund them as a state institution, because of the strategic importance that they hold in our nation. So if they are doing this to what? To raise money, to do IGF, does that not go against its very mandate when they have been set up and everything has been catered for? So what I'm saying is that when they give these flimsy excuses, look at it from a structural point of view. Look at it from a structural point of view, in which by institutionalized a system of attempting the duopoly is what is taking place here in Ghana right before our eyes. And so today is 100,000. Tomorrow it's become 1 million. Then it will become 10 million. Then government of the people, for the people, by the people is now a structure or a system whereby if you don't have money, you are not part of it. So the poor person sitting in the future, who is 40 years and of a sound mind, whom I want to contest, must be rich. Now we are saying the prerequisite for contesting is that you must be rich. And these are the issues that we have with the system that is going on. And so the Electoral Commission having to come out, and then Dr. Bosman, a very good friend of mine, trying to justify that at the parliamentary level, they have left it at 10,000 because somehow they are working for the poor. So are you saying that at the presidential level, it is for the rich? Because that is by inference what you are saying, where you make the argument that you want to give opportunity at the parliamentary level. But on the presidential level, you think that it is an elitist position. So for that elitist position, you want to filter it out by increasing the fees. That is what you have said.
But isn't it a fact that the resources required to run an election at the parliamentary level are different from what is required to run an election at the presidential level? Is this not a matter of fact? Is it not a matter of...
My brother,
it's not a practical thing.
But what I'm saying is, it should not become prohibitive.
Okay.
You see, people need the funding to run a campaign, to go on the road, to spend money on fuel, to spend money on communication and the rest. You need that money, and you need to raise that money for the sustenance of a campaign. But to participate in the campaign, the fee that has been put there cannot become a prohibition against a Ghanaian of 40 years and of sound mind, believing that they have something to share to the nation, to be what? To be filtered out through the system, because now we are showing that a elitist system is being built here in Ghana. That Dr. Bosman says that at the parliamentary level, in order to give more opportunity to the people, he has seen it gracefully that he will not increase the 10,000 fee. But in the same vein, at the presidential level there, it is game to increase the fees. These are fundamental contradictions in thought, in action, and in behavior. Because you cannot speak from one side of your mouth and do another with the other side of your mouth. The consistency in philosophy, in increasing or otherwise, must be applied equitably and reasonably. And so what becomes the basis for which that the Electoral Commission sits in an air-conditioned room and takes a decision that this is what they are going to do? What is the basis that they tell Ghanaians? That the value of the city is not the same, that government has destroyed our economy? Okay, I understand that. But you can't also say that because governments have destroyed our economy and our city, you are pegging our city to the dollar. Is that what you are telling me? Because you are talking about value of the city. And we are pegging it to what? The dollar? Our economy is now pegged to the dollar. Isn't that what we have been fighting against? The dollarization of our economy. And here it is that the Electoral Commission, a facilitator, a person, an institution that gives us all a level playing field, has now created a different level of playing field for players to filter them out of the system. It does not make sense. It is unconscionable. You cannot have a government, a constitution that recognizes multi-party democracy, but then at the same time, you work and put in systems to keep people out of the system. And that is why I preface my system, that it appears that every time one of these parties is in power, they are in favor of putting in stringent measures and ways to keep out others from coming in. And I've shown you the statements that were made by my good brothers and sisters when they are in opposition. When they are in opposition, it is, it's too much. But when they get into power, the perpetuation of themselves, willing to perpetuate themselves by any means necessary, you set up stumbling blocks for others who have who also mean well to want to contribute to the political discourse and the fairness and equity of our nation demands that this thing that the Electoral Commission has put there must be removed, because it is in itself a biased approach to filtering out people to be able to contribute, because the Constitution does not say you must have big money to want to run for presidential. The Constitution only talks about 40 years and of a sound mind. So if you're 40 years and of a sound mind, where are these impediments being put in the way to be able to disallow people from wanting to exercise their franchise?
Would the PPP take this matter to the courts once again, as it did
in 2016? Look at the timetable. My brother, look at the timetable. You see, sometimes the media, I get so angry with my brothers in the media. Something like this has happened. You know that this thing that has happened is wrong. The media knows it is wrong.
That's why that's why you've been given the opportunity to speak, to tell us what you think about this. And over here we've always consistently asked the right questions and given everybody the opportunity to speak to it.
We as Ghanaians must fight against this thing, because today it is me, tomorrow it is you.
But the forum, the forum recognized in a democracy like ours is the court.
Has been at best hypocritical in their approach to institutionalizing and dollarizing and making sure that you put implements in the way of the poor. Government is for the poor. It's for those of us who don't have. And you are supposed to make, I am paying the Electoral Commission money so that they will be able to be free and do the work that they do. My taxpayer is going to them. So why do you now become prohibitive in people exercising their franchise? Allow them to go. If they go and the people don't hear their voice, or the people don't think that what they are putting there is reasonable, that is part of the political dispensation. But to prohibit in terms of putting huge sums of money, then when the United States of America, they can spend billions on election, but they only pay $500 to be considered a candidate. My brother, it doesn't make sense. It is irrational, and we can't appropriate something that will not live up to the time when we query this. Because the NDC has said before that the fees were too high. The NPP has said before that the fees were too high. So how come when they are empowered, somehow they support when the Electoral Commission gives us figures that are very high, that are not reflective of the economic standards of the nation? What is the average income of the Ghanaian? Okay. On what basis did you go to 100,000? Okay. Is that what is the justification?
Okay.
So, what is the justification?
So obviously you think that this increment is irrational. But on that note, we'll take a break.
But don't you think it's rational?
Yes,
don't you think it's irrational?
Respectfully, my view does not matter here. It's yours that matter. That's why I'm asking the questions. Yeah, so we have to pay the bills, Franklin. So we'll take a break here. When I come back, you'd have your take on the matter. Imani, yes. We'll take a break.
The world is impossible without time. Time is endless motion. Make time work for you. Bet Planet. Time to bet.
You're welcome back. This is The Big Issue right here on Citi TV, of course. It's also live on Citi FM 97.3 and affiliates across the country. We're discussing the matter of the filing fees for the Electoral Commission. It's pegged at 200. It's pegged at 100,000 cedis for the presidential aspirant and 10,000 cedis for the parliamentary aspirants to be able to contest in the upcoming elections, which is just 79 days away from today. So I would move to Franklin Kujo at this point to bring us what he thinks by way of his submissions on this matter. Of course, it's a matter that almost every electoral cycle it comes up, especially at least from 2016 was was a huge issue, went to court. We're still here. The EC believes that due to the time value of money considerations, it's justified at the presidential level for this money to move up to 100,000. Franklin Kujo.
Yes, thank you very much. But before then, just 20 seconds on the last subject. 20 seconds. Okay, so I was scanning through my archives and I found out that Citi FM had published a story, July 24th, 2018, when the president had inaugurated the first One District, One Factory in Tamale to manufacture motorcycles and a number of other tricycles as well. I just thought I should put that in because I think, as I said, it adds to the arsenal of my argument that this conversation goes beyond the two parties. There's a recognition that Okada is indeed something that must be looked at. And if the party had inaugurated its own One District, One Factory, it's a public-private partnership deal, by the way. There you have it, by the way. So any conversations beyond that is all moot anyway. The second point I want to make quickly is that Honorable Agboja, right?
Yes.
You know, keeps making references to the fact that the NPP legalized weed. I think it's incorrect. Let me ask a question. Honorable Kwesi Etubondi is Kintampo North MP, right? Is he
Yes.
NDC or NPP?
He's one of my colleagues.
But we raised, I think I raised the argument.
He's appointed as an individual.
I made the point that it's not necessarily a commercialization of that. It's just a component.
It's not
a component, yes.
Commercialized. There's an aspect of there's a grade of it,
yes.
which is for commercial purposes.
Yeah.
And this was championed by Honorable Kwesi Etubondi, by the way. So it's not necessarily, if he ensured that the health requirements, the legal requirements were put into law.
0.09% of that chemical component.
So
of that component.
0.04, yes.
So if somebody's on the farm checking the percentage now.
No, if it's not 0.05, it becomes we. And so the commercialization of it is for the purposes of, and not just the manufacturing.
I think that the point is well.
Okay, so filing fees. See, I'm a bit conflicted on this one. First of all, I like to say that the EC itself has this perennial behavior for making commentary without any basis in science or economics. So that's one thing. I'm not entirely surprised that my good friend, the deputy EC boss, said, oh, this is just in keeping with the inflationary trends. And so because of that, they are not static. I mean, that was a comment that was not necessary in the first place at all, because they are not a business. You see, they are paid from our taxes, so they cannot be telling us that because they are running losses, they need to make up for their losses. Much as I understand the point about the time value of money, it is not for the EC to be telling candidates that they should pay such and such amount because 4 years ago, 50,000 cedis was nothing, or 50,000 today is nothing. I think that commentary was not necessary. But as I said, it's in keeping with the tradition of the EC. Zero coherence, zero value when it comes to making arguments that have to be grounded in. I mean, this is the same EC that's telling us that they must have spent $25,000 on each person they found to have been doubly registered. So anyway, just on that. Look, the other part of my argument here is that maybe this could have been graduated, by the way, in fairness, because some of the smaller parties really may not be able to cough up this 100,000. And there's a certain sense that once you are running for power, like political power, you should be able to mobilize. I hear that argument, it makes sense, but I'm not too sure that the entity we are paying the money to must be the one telling us that, well, I mean, impliedly suggesting that you should be able to pay because you may have offices across the country. It brings me to my next point. All these political parties, smaller, bigger, or independent parties, once you jump into the fray that you want to be taken as a candidate to run the high office, you must have the ability to mobilize millions of people, right? I mean, I can say that the major parties have 4 million persons usually in their bags before even the election starts, right?
Yeah.
Now, these parties have never optimized the opportunity they have with these numbers to even be seeking dues from them. I mean, democracy has become transactional, I know. But the reason why the parties do not see the signs, not just the major parties, but even the smaller parties, do not probably have do not see the sense in doing this is because they don't want to be held accountable at all. Because presumably, if these members contribute their widow's mite, they will be exacting from the leadership what they, I mean, accountability. So the first point of call, rather than cry over this matter per se, is to say that, look, we need to start building the capabilities of our membership, which includes the economic capabilities as well. Parties must not just come to life during elections. Parties must also start becoming developmental. And I know that PPP is a developmental party. I mean, Nana Usu is a businessman. His boss has how do you call it, several businesses, and they are building the capabilities of people. I think they can extend it to their members as well,
and
so that you can build their capabilities to be able to contribute a little bit to this party, to the cause. The last one I want to make on this filing fee has to do with what I heard my good friend Honorable Ayariga, not the MP for NDC, but the presidential candidate, flag bearer. Yes, I heard him on Metro TV yesterday, suggesting that, look, if the EC was pegging this figure at this amount, what happens when, I mean, all workers also demand an increase in their salaries? Because presumably the EC is saying this because maybe they want to up their salaries of their own workers. Would their workers be given some due when they exact these sums? I mean, when they exact this double sum. So I think it's a kettle, and I mean, it's a different kettle of fish when it comes to these kinds of conversations. One, there's the democratic argument, there's the fairness argument, but in this part of our world, I think the streets are very well laden with the unintended consequences of what political parties tend to do when they are in opposition and when they are in office. They do not care about their members. They only care about promising a lot of freebies, which they will never dish out from their pocket, but from the taxes. They should pay the money.
Okay. All right. So that's Franklin Cudjoe. Let me come back to the studio. Begin with you, Gavin. The accusation is clear that for the MPP and the NDC, this is not really an issue, and the positions change as and when you are in government or in opposition. Well, you would have to pay 10,000 to file, yes, to contest. Yes. Again, presidential level 100,000 cedis. Is our democracy being commoditized?
Well, just to borrow a bit of a strategy from Franklin, the issue I'm raised about cannabis is that, fortunately, you are a parliamentary correspondent. In the process of passing that law, we were told that they will only be allowed to grow weed, which is what they've written, which is quite technical, which has got not more than 0.3% tetrahydrocannabinol. Yeah. That's the chemical in it. Yeah. The question we asked was, who is going to go around the farms to ensure that that is exactly the quantity of that particular substance in them? And then
that was a component of the Narcotics Control Commission Authority.
And you remember,
which fairly lies in their
And then within that law,
duty to enforce that.
We were able to convince them that it will surely lead to more people consuming weed. Do you remember the clause in that law that says that henceforth the enforcement authorities will not deal with a certain level of drug use as a crime anymore, but it will be considered as a public health issue. That those people, the amount of money we realize in the commercial cultivation of weed will be used to treat them as a public health issue, not like you will not be arrested if you at a certain level. I compared that with Okada, knowing very well that people are already engaged in Okada. Okay. If we could control the smoking of weed at a certain level, and people must listen, it's in the law, that henceforth a certain level of what is currently a crime, it will be decriminalized. That you would be treated as if you are caught smoking weed. Maybe they can say that you need to be cancelled and other things. Issues. That is the point I made. So I'm not saying that maybe Franklin didn't
commercialized.
Yes, with the issue of the filing fees. Well, the record shows that up to 2004, from 1992 to 2004, the MPs were paying just 20 Ghana cedi. The value of in today's money, just 20 Ghana cedi. And then the presidents were paying 500 Ghana cedis in today's currency. In 2008, it went to 5,000 for president. 2012, the same. 2016, indeed, as that gentleman's 50,000. The MPs, 2016 was 10,000. And the thing about this is that MPs for political parties actually don't pay. We are not the ones who pay. Okay. It is the parties that pay on our behalf. That is why when you are in parliament and you decide to break the three-line whip, for instance, of your party can sack you from parliament. Okay. And you can decide to cross carpet, and you know an MP did it from NDC before, and then thought he could come back. And Dr. Yes, he even forgot that once you cross over, you are no longer a member of parliament. In our parliament, you can't be in NDC and just walk over to NPP and still be a member of parliament. You have to go back and renew your mandate with the people. And he went and lost, as a matter of fact. Exactly. So the MPs are not talking too much simply because historically we are not the ones who pay. Our parties find the money and pay, how they pay. But for the smaller parties, it's true. It could be an issue. But I mean, Franklin just told us how resourceful the PPP is. He gave the impression that officials of PPP are more business people. It's as if I'm a practicing architect, I am not employing people, or I'm not industrious enough. My brother who runs also a think tank is not. I mean, we all understand that, of course, Dr. Ndum is way million miles away from what I do in terms of my ability to touch lives. There's no doubt about that. And I get his point that political parties should be able to do that. But I don't feel that a PPP called on this is entirely justified. Okay. If I have my way, nobody should pay anything to contest an election. And in fact, if I read the Constitution, the core mandates of the Electoral Commission, I didn't even read anything there that tells me they have the right to even determine how much anybody pays. But you see, when we're writing laws all the time, there's a caveat, and we live with that and any other related matters that. So in that, every organization who gets these kind of laws go and use that, we call it omnibus clause, to create either an LI or administrative procedures to say that based on that particular clause, this is what we are determining. And by that determination, they become the people who determine how much we all charge. In the past also, I'm told IPAC has been taking part in the determination of this. The comments I hear these days is that IPAC didn't take that decision. The most ridiculous explanation I've ever heard is what Dr. Bosman gave, which gave the impression that the economy have gone so bad between 2016 and now that they need to basically double it. And I'm not sure where he got that information from. Either he's saying the economy has gone so well that people can pay, or it's gone so bad that they can't raise their money. People have genuinely also raised the question as to whether the Electoral Commission, when they appear before Parliament, they determine these amounts as projected IGF. Part of the money indeed does remain with them, because if you don't cross the threshold of getting a certain amount of these things, they do keep that money. Is it monies that they project as part of the IGF, and how do they use it? Because the vote from Parliament totally covers what EC does, and we do even top up for them. So what exactly do they use this kind of money? So it's a genuine question as to what is the optimum that must be paid. That will be difficult to determine on this platform, knowing very well that Electoral Commission is fully funded by the Consolidated Fund. I don't know why they should be taking extra money, because I doubt if we want to run an Electoral Commission based on an IGF. That would be dangerous. So I don't know why they charge. Because during our internal elections, they conduct it for us. They still charge us. When we are doing our regional and national elections, they charge us for all those things. So they must have been accruing some level of IGF, and we want to know why they still need to charge candidates this amount of money.
So the question of accountability for the Electoral Commission, maybe at the Special Budget Committee, that issue can be put to them.
In the past, every electoral commissioner appeared at committee on the floor. This is the first time we are going into an election, and the electoral commissioner never appeared before members of parliament. She rather appeared before a committee.
Special Budget Committee.
Yes.
But I think that before the registration process started, the Speaker issued a fiat that after the process, the electoral commissioner must appear in the House. So
Afarijan appeared before the election. Madam Osei appeared before the election. So what is the point of appearing after the election?
There could still be questions of accountability to be put to them.
No, because we wanted to know the processes. So I'm just saying that on record.
Appearing before the Special Budget Committee is not.
You can appear, but yes, exactly.
They should still come to the plenary.
This is the first time that an electoral commissioner did not appear before the plenary until the election.
Well, that's an issue that is left to the leadership of Parliament to push. I'll come to you, Richard. Commoditization of our democracy because filing fees are being, how the filing fees are being, the cost of the filing fees.
I hope my honorable senior is not questioning his leadership in Parliament because they made a mistake or something. The appearance of the EC before the Committee of the Whole, really doesn't change anything. Either today or tomorrow is a process, it will be fulfilled. I don't think that's an issue. So see the fees, and you did well by telling us what it was from 92, I think 500 or whatever it is, all the way down to 5,000, 5,000, 10,000, and 10,000 again, I think, and then for 50, and then 100. I just want a situation where, based on what our brother Nana from the PPP was talking about, very animated, I think it's a legitimate concern across board that we shouldn't make money a factor to preclude people from participating in democratic process, because then it has a tendency of shutting them out. And that is a legitimate concern, because in a democracy you want people to be able to participate and have their voice heard. The process of choosing is also the process of putting yourself up to be chosen or not. So that is a principle that we must uphold at all times and at all levels. So that, for me, is not an issue to raise any disagreements about. But the only thing I suppose this is that it has been a process with the EC already. And then from all the outlines we have, they've been charging it. So today is not the first time for us to now go and say, oh, this EC is doing something extraordinary different. The jump from 2012 to 2016 was almost 90%. It was 90%, if you like, and then this one probably 100%, if you want to say. So it's the way EC does business. Now, the question we must stop and pose is that, do we agree that they should continue to do that, or let's have Parliament fix an amount that is permanent and perhaps adjusted for inflation as time goes on, and that determination will be made by Parliament and not by the EC. The explanations given, I think, did not hold much water, and the key thing we must be advised by all the time is to ensure that we are focused on ensuring that people have access to engage in the process. So what we're discussing is, if you like, is an institutional norm with the EC, and whether or not we agree, or whoever is in power is immaterial, is a question that we must figure out a way to address, and address that permanently. And so if we want, going forward, the principle we have agreed amongst ourselves that we should allow free speech, and money can't constrain free speech. And so if we use that principle, then we can have a conversation in Parliament to say, let's take away that power from the EC and have Parliament fix the rate, and then be able to review it as and when the majority or the representative of the people think that it's time to do so. And I think that would help our democracy.
Okay. So let me bring in some of the comments that are still coming in with regards to the issues that have been discussed so far on it looks like the conversation about the Okada is still very, very topical on the minds of our viewers and our listeners from the messages that have come in so far. Well, this one from Brighton Dansuman once again says, I don't trust the EC nowadays. I think the EC has increased the filing fees to reduce the number of candidates in the system, which is very bad for the democratic system of government. Couple more messages on the issue of regularizing or legalizing Okada. Uncle from Uncle in Takrady says, I think for the assurance of persons who wish to engage in or patronize Okada business, please legalize and regularize the industry. At the same time, promote the leasing and sale of the new cars produced in Ghana. People at the various levels in business can make their own choices. That's from Uncle in Takrady. Kofi from Zenu says, it's sad that democracy is being monetized in Ghana. What then happens to an egalitarianism or an egalitarian system as one of the tenets of democracy? What is the use of the Electoral Commission's budget? Let's resist it. Abu from Tumu says, please tell the MPP representative that currently people share the same trotro or taxi seats, which in itself is unsafe for passengers, yet we use it. And so his argument about the safety of sharing helmet and riding jackets is flawed. Even car owners in some parts of the country can't use them to work, but have to resort to the use of Okada because the roads are either not motorable or overcrowded, coupled with uncontrollable traffic and congestion. Okay, so Eugene from Winneba says, monetizing the filing fees of presidential and parliamentary candidates is simply very bad, greedy, and insensitive to the poor and ordinary Ghanaians. MPP, NDC, and they are manipulative. Well, in any case, how can the filing fees of Ghana be higher than the USA? Don't you think the regulations will reduce the accidents that are associated with the Okada venture, and that goes on to improve safety? I stay in an area which is inaccessible to cars due to the poor nature of the roads in my area. I take Okada or I use Okada each and every day. So let's legalize Okada and set the rules straight. Eugene from Winneba. So those are the messages. We would take a break here, but before we take the break, when we come back, we'll look at the payment of some 3.56 billion Ghana cedis to the defunct customers of defunct microfinance institutions and savings and loans companies that went down under, some 370 of them in all, in the banking sector cleanup or banking sector crisis or the financial sector crisis, whichever way you want to term it, which happened from 2017 up until 2019 when the last phase was completed. So we'll take a break here. When I come back, we'll look at that discussion from all angles.
They'll go with a 4-4-2 diamond formation for that early lead.
An early goal will settle the nerves.
Their away team has been in bad form. They will feel the pressure.
The home side's kept 2 clean sheets in a row.
It's all about momentum.
Who will have the stamina to last the 90 minutes?
Their star striker is suspended.
They've got no kappa.
The marking will be tight.
This will be won or lost in the midfield.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. Betway, for the love of the game.
Welcome back. This is the Big Issue live on Citi TV and of course on Citi FM 97.3 and affiliates across the country. So the last issue that we're discussing for the next 21 minutes before the show ends has got to do with the release of some 3.56 billion Ghana cedis this week to the receiver of the 370 microfinance institutions and savings and loans companies that went down under as a result of the financial sector cleanup or financial sector crisis, depending on whichever way you want to term it. Now, this is also a matter that the NDC flag bearer spoke about in the course of the week, that it's a matter that has been or the issues are being resolved or settled because of the campaign promise that was made that the NDC will pay all customers? Okay, so that insert is not ready. It was just to put in perspective the issues. So let me begin with Gavin's Abuja on this matter of the cleanup.
First bite all the time.
Okay, all right. So I mean, whichever way it is. Richard,
Yeah.
on this issue.
Well, Duke, this is good news. I am very happy for all the depositors. It is for their sake that the cleanup and the measures taken to deal with it decidedly. It is for their interest that that process was invested in to begin with. But I was looking forward to actually hear, though I've heard, but I wanted your viewers to also hear the insert. But since it wasn't, the key thing is I was gobsmacked when I heard that the former president would even suggest anything like that. I mean, that's one thing, Duke, I keep saying that this election is about the credibility of the former president. He is so unanchored in principle. So he will shift depending on where the wind is blowing. And you don't want a leader like that to lead our country. Because why? He was in government when all these things started. He occasioned this. He supervised this, sat by and caused this thing to create the mess he had created. Now you are telling us you are making a promise which we know by your history you cannot keep because you have not kept your promises to Ghanaians. You promised you will pay assembly members allowances or whatnot. You didn't pay that. So where is the credibility? Then now a problem you have created, spent about 5 billion trying to enable the same banking sector. Then you turn around and say you've made some writing in a manifesto and somebody's copying. Ghana has moved on from John Mahama, His Excellency. We have moved on because we are at a phase in our history where we need principle and people we can hold accountable. His positions are so shifty, you have to every day hear him to know where he stands. You created a problem and left us with it. And Ghanaians voted massively, haven't seen your inconsistency. And then you turn around and say, oh, I've made promise in my manifesto.
But
as promises that we have made and have never kept.
Initially, there was the option provided by the government, or the receivers, the resolution of this whole process, to pay some of these customers with bonds over 5 years. But now that has also been being redeemed, and people are going to be paid cash. Yeah. One may argue that that's also a shift in decisional policy.
No, it's not.
By government.
It's not. It's a decision
that will come up.
No, but if anybody says that, then that person is not following the process of economic management. Okay, here's the thing. You made a commitment you're going to pay. A total, I think, is about 6.49 billion or so.
Yes.
Right?
That's across the board.
Altogether, right? You made commitment you're going to pay. You release an amount, and the instrument that we're going to be used to pay them, is it alien?
Bonds, yes.
Yeah. Is it alien?
It's not.
It's not. So it's part of,
But there have been complaints that if you have a bond for a 5-year tenor, which is not yielding any interest, compare that to,
please. So we're not in disagreement. Okay. I'm just saying, it's not alien. It's a measure we can use. Under the circumstances, the challenges faced by the economy is one of the tools that you can use, okay? But then you consult, you engage, and then you see the need. I mean, I listen on your station, and this is props for you, that you brought some people whose monies are stuck in the system. They were appealing to the president. One elderly man was appealing to the president, give us some money. Whatever you find it, find the money and give us. Right? Yeah. On your station, yes, I think on your morning show.
Yeah. This is something that we've really
exactly. And see, so you listen. Unlike the other governments of the NDC, we listen, we engage with the people and understanding the difficulty. So we say, then what can we do for our people? Okay. And the government arrived at a solution. But you know, this whole system, this whole challenge is supposed to be managed by the Bank of Ghana. Okay? But this is a government solution to address the immediate problems of the people. But what the point I was making to you is the person speaking about a subject matter There must come a time when you know you don't have credibility on the matter, then you hold yourself back, not to insert yourself in the middle of conversation that you yourself have created. And when he had the opportunity, he didn't do this, right? Under him, many, it's in excess of 80 or so, savings and loans companies went under. What did he do? He didn't do anything. So he doesn't have a credibility even to have a conversation about this subject matter, let alone promise anything in a manifesto. So I am happy for Ghanaians that today we have gotten to the point where this issue is resolved completely and effectively. Going forward, this resolution is built some measure of confidence in the system, that we know that if we put our monies in the banks, our government will stand behind those deposits, and if anything goes south, they will be able to redeem and make good on the promise that gives us the confidence to put the money there. I am consoled by that, and I'm very happy that going forward, the regulations that have been put in place, the measures have been put in place to ensure that the banking system is sound and resolute and be able to move forward and operate in ways that will not and ensure that these challenges we've had recur. I think that all of us should be vigilant, that the challenges and the people who occasioned this, and the former president admitted this in his 2016 State of Nation address, didn't do anything about it, only admitted there was a problem. I think that we must be happy that this is resolved, and then be also minded in choosing who we want to lead our country, because we chose a president before who created this mess and put a lot of people through pain and hardship. That person is still here and seeking our mandate, throwing all sorts of things to trap us in a conversation that takes us in a loop. Okay? We must be minded by such individuals and parties and say that they are not who we want to lead this country. We want people who will give us solutions and solve our problem with policies that are sound, logical, and are able to give us better outcomes.
Okay, let me go virtually now to Nana Osu of the PPP on this matter. Not to box the issues together, but as an entity, GN Savings and Loans, GN Bank, the financial wing, or just to separate the issues, which some way somehow has been involved with the founder of the PPP has also been involved in some of these issues. Now, government is saying they are paying 3.5 billion cedis to customers of these defunct institutions. I'm sure with that basis or with that background, you would have some submission, albeit based on your understanding of the issues in the area, to contribute to the table of the discussion that we are having here. So, Nana Osu. Nana Osu, please, if you can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. So, you have a yes.
Your friend is back.
The financial sector issues that people call it a cleanup. There are victims in the process. And GN Savings and Loans is a victim in this process. And I will refer you to a report that was done on the state of the banking sector with all the financial institutions somewhere in 2016, 2017, of which GN Savings and Loans was not part. Now, what has happened, fast forward, GN Savings and Loans is in court. And we have been in court since September of 2019. It has taken so long for this case to move forward. In any case, we will go back to court in October in advancing of this case. The payment to depositors of GN Savings and Loans, GN Savings have never opposed it, although we could have gone for an injunction on the process. This is simply because the money is being paid to GN Savings and Loans is not a bailout from government. It is the money that is owed to the GN entities for infrastructure work done with government, now growing up to about 3 billion Ghana cedis. So if you take part of that money that is owed to us from government, and you pay depositors, we clap for that. We clap for that but we don't see it as a government bailout. You're only using our money that you refuse to pay back the depositors.
Since this is a matter of an administrative hearing and a matter that is before the courts, wouldn't you want us to not go into the merits of the case?
No,
that's a fact.
We are in court about
challenging
the whole revocation of the license.
Yes.
And we are in court with belief that we will get the reliefs we are seeking for in court.
Okay.
And I have also said that being in court, payment to depositors, as we are doing our case in court, we could have filed for an injunction on that. But we did not. And we agreed that the payment should go to depositors. But to us, it's not captured as a bailout, because there is money that is owed to the JN Group from various government institutions for which we are in court for. And we believe that the payments that are going to our customers are monies that are owed to us by the government of Ghana. We have made this case over and over again, and we have shown the ample evidence to this fact.
Okay.
If you go to Cocoa Roads, Get Fund, many of the projects that we have pre-financed as government infrastructure projects. So we are happy that these payments are being made. Because from the beginning, when we were asking for the payments to be made, if they had been made, we would not be where we are today as a business and as the people who are suffering. I am glad that government has considered the suffering of the people, because I think that this is a major case or a major topical area or a major subject for which voters will act on when it comes to voting day come December 7th.
Okay.
And because, you see, we were taking it light. And when Ghana is quiet, there is something about when Ghana is quiet. When Ghana is quiet, you must be worried. When Ghana is quiet, you must be worried.
Okay.
Because Ghanaians begin to internalize all these things, and you see the impact on the people's lives. In some of the things, they use a sledgehammer to kill an ant.
Right.
And they took victims along the process. We were not saying that the place is a religious institution or any of that sort. Some people are not guilty of what they're being accused of. They were saying that there are also some people who are victims of this process, like the GN Savings and Loans Group. That is why I'm not getting into specificities of the matter.
All right.
So all in all, the payment that is coming, I'm glad government has found the money that they said was not there to pay the people. And this 5-year bond at 0 coupon, for which people were crying in their stomach. And you see, depositors have also come, GN savings depositors have also come to understand and realize that yes, indeed, there are funds from them that we use to finance infrastructure projects that are with government.
Okay.
And we hear, we had 98% of the people have been paid.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, it's now 3.5 something billion that needs to be paid.
That's because for those who have to be paid, these are the customers who have, in terms of whose deposits are above 70,000 cedis. That's the clarification there.
My brother,
we
were not made to know that in the beginning. We are also saying that contractors that they are saying have been paid have not been paid.
Okay, so let me for yes,
that we need to be able to deal with and talk about and ensure that those evidence are there, because if those contractors have been paid, those funding would have gone into the coffers of GN Savings and Loans, and that money would have been sitting there to pay the depositors their funds.
Right. So for want of time, Nana, I think the point so me. Let me bring in Gavins.
Yes.
On this matter, and
yes, I think this is a panic reaction once again from the NPP in reaction to what President Mahama promised. Their fixation on attacking President Mahama will not stop. They call him all sorts of names, but they should just realize this is a man that gave you, handed over a country to you with 3 oil wells that was generating a minimum of $1 billion oil revenue. As of the time we were leaving power, in fact, due to even the challenges with the FPSO, we were barely making $200 million. This is a president that handed over a healthy amount of funds in some of the funds we created. GET Fund, Heritage Fund, Ghana Infrastructure Fund, ESLA that you said was a nuisance tax you were going to take away. In fact, ESLA at a point in time was giving us more money than even the oil revenues. The Stabilization Fund, the Infrastructure Fund. Stabilization Fund, without which I don't even know how you were going to be able to deal with COVID. The major infrastructure project, the Turbo Gas Plant, the Airport Terminal 3, the railway project that you inherited. And then you call this man is not principled. The person who is not principled, let me tell you, when the John Mahama set up Ghana Infrastructure Fund, from which part of the cost of the Terminal 3 was paid, had money in it before you came, that if you had principle, if President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia had any principle, they would have been using part of that money to pay more of the loan that we took to build Terminal 3, which is generating income to us. But what did they do? This is his solution to Ghana Infrastructure Fund. Collapse the fund, give the money to his relative to build a hotel called Pullman Hotel at the airport. Is this the man we are comparing to President Mahama?
I think the issue we are discussing now is going
I am saying that if it's about principle, the principal president is the one who set up Infrastructure Fund, use it to build airports that benefits all of them. And somebody who comes to meet a fund he did not create and use it to give to his relative to build a hotel called Pullman Hotel at the airport. If we are talking about this payment, like I said, this is just a knee-jerk reaction. Don't forget, the confirmation to pay this money, like the gentleman said, is that indeed the monies existed all along. Government just wickedly decided not to pay the depositors. Because guess what? This 3.56 billion does not even appear in the budget review. What it means is that it's not in the budget review. It means that the money already existed somewhere. So they could have been paid way back. Thirdly, who says that this cleanup was meant to clean up any mess? This cleanup was a personal decision to collapse every homegrown bank. You tell me that we are better off today because Dr. Andum's banks are collapsed? You tell me that we are better off today because Dr. Andum's banks are collapsed? Somebody who built a bank everywhere. The first time a bank appeared in Adaklu was a GN Bank.
The asset review that was done for the banks before, which ushered in this.
We have taken a principal position that
the issues in that sector.
It's just like coming here and say that everybody who works at Citi ought to have a certain the justification of a certain amount of education to be able to work here. Who says that every bank needed 400 million Ghana cedi to be able to? Some banks don't need that. Some banks only needed 50,000 because of the nature of the nature of
apologies to Franklin that we could not bring him on this issue. By the time the time is up. Thank you for your I'm sorry. But I'm sorry, but for the want of time, for want of time, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we had in studio the Honorable Gavin Kwame Agbojebi for Adaklu, ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee, as well as Richard Ahiyamba, Executive Director of the Dankwa Institute. Virtually joining us, we had Nana Oforio, Chairman of the PPP, Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa, and Professor Martin Otinga Bebio earlier on joined us, Head of Department of the Geography and Resource Department of the University of Ghana. And for you, for doing the listening and the viewing as well, keep watching Citi TV. Hopefully next week, Godfred Akoto will be back in the driving seat. Keep watching Citi TV and enjoy the rest of our programming.